The man opened his eyes slowly. His head felt heavy, like a stone sinking under water. Cold air touched his skin and strange lights flickered above him. At first he thought he was dreaming. But when his vision cleared, he realized he was not in his bed, not even on Earth. He was lying on a smooth silver floor. The walls around him curved like the inside of a giant shell, glowing with a soft blue light. There were no windows, no doors he could see. Only silence, then footsteps, shapes moved in the distance. Tall figures walking slowly toward him. Their skin shimmered like glass and their eyes glowed faint green. They were not human. They were aliens. The man pushed himself up, his heart racing. His throat felt dry, but he managed to whisper, "Where am I?" The aliens did not answer. They stopped a few feet away, standing in a circle around him. Their faces showed no emotion, only curiosity. They stared at him as if he was some strange animal caught in a cage. One of the aliens, taller than the rest, raised a long hand. The others stepped aside. From the shadows, another figure appeared. It was a woman. She was not fully human and not fully alien. Her skin was pale with a faint silver glow. Her eyes were large, shaped like a tear, but they looked tired, empty. Her dark hair fell over her shoulders and she wore a white robe. She looked fragile, like glass that could break at any moment. The man stared at her in shock. She looked almost beautiful but also broken. The tall alien spoke at last, its voice deep and echoing inside his mind, not through sound. "She cannot give life," it said slowly. "But now, she is yours." The man froze. He did not understand. His chest tightened with fear. "What do you mean?" he asked. The alien did not explain. Instead, it stepped back and the woman was pushed forward. She lowered her head, her eyes avoiding his. She did not resist, did not speak. She only stood there, silent, as if she had already given up on everything. The man's mind raced. Why would aliens give him a woman? What was their purpose? Why him? The silence grew heavy. He looked at her again. She did not move, but he noticed something in her eyes, hidden deep, not hope, but pain. The aliens continued to watch, like judges waiting for a verdict. The man's voice shook as he said, "I don't want her. I don't understand this." But the aliens gave no answer. They only repeated the same words echoing through his mind. "She cannot give life. But now she is yours." And then, without warning, the circle of aliens turned and walked away, leaving the man and the woman alone in the glowing chamber. The silence felt louder than before. The woman finally raised her head. Her lips trembled as if she wanted to speak, but no sound came. She looked at him with eyes full of sadness, eyes that had seen too much. The man felt a chill. He did not know her, did not want this, but something in her gaze pulled at him. He tried to stand, but his legs shook. "What do they want from me?" he muttered. The woman looked down at her hands. They were shaking. She whispered a word so soft he almost missed it. Life. That single word cut through him like a blade. He stepped closer. "What do you mean?" he asked. She did not answer. Instead, she turned and walked toward the wall. To his shock, the wall opened like water, revealing a hallway of light. She stopped at the entrance, waiting for him. The man hesitated. He could stay, but the room felt like a prison. He could follow her, but he had no idea where it would lead. His chest pounded. Every instinct told him this was dangerous. But something inside whispered, "If you don't follow, you will never know the truth." He took a deep breath and stepped forward. The wall closed behind them with a hiss, sealing the chamber. The hallway stretched far, filled with glowing symbols on the walls. The woman walked ahead in silence, her steps soft and slow. He followed, his eyes scanning everything. At last, she stopped. She turned to him, her eyes wet with unshed tears. "They gave me to you," she said, her voice weak but clear now. "Because they believe you can do the impossible." The man felt his stomach twist. Impossible? What do they want from me? She held his gaze for the first time, and for a moment he saw something new in her eyes, fear mixed with a tiny spark of hope. "They want me to have a child." The man's blood ran cold. His mouth went dry, and then, before he could speak, the hallway lights flickered and strange sounds echoed from the distance, went on like machines waking up. The aliens were not done with him yet. The man could still hear the echo of her words. "They want me to have a child." It circled in his mind like a storm. He walked beside her, but his chest felt heavy. Every step through the glowing hallway made the truth sink deeper. These aliens had brought him here for a reason. A reason he did not ask for, a reason he did not want. The woman did not speak again. She walked with her head low, her hands pressed together as if she was ashamed of herself. He looked at her, wondering what kind of life she had lived before this moment. She looked so fragile, but there was something deeper in her silence, like she carried a secret pain too heavy to describe. At last, they entered a chamber. The walls here glowed a softer light, almost warm. There was a small bed, a bowl of clear water, and nothing else. The aliens were gone. The door closed behind them with a hiss. The man sat on the floor trying to think. "Why me?" he whispered. "Of all the humans, why me?" The woman sat on the edge of the bed. Her eyes moved to him, but she did not answer. Hours passed. Silence filled the room, broken only by the faint hum of alien machines hidden in the walls. The man tried speaking to her many times. "What is your name? Do you understand me? Why do they want this?" But she always looked away. He almost gave up. Then in the middle of the night he woke to a sound, a soft sob. He turned and saw her sitting by the wall, hugging her knees, tears shining on her face. For the first time she looked less like an alien and more like a human, lost, broken, afraid. He moved closer, careful not to frighten her. "Why are you crying?" he asked gently. She wiped her face but did not answer. "Please," he whispered. "I don't understand any of this. But maybe we can understand each other." She looked at him. Her lips trembled, and then very softly she spoke. "They want life, but I cannot give life." Her voice was weak, almost a whisper, but it carried pain sharper than any blade. The man frowned. "They said you were sterile. Is that true?" She nodded slowly, shame filling her eyes. "But then, why give you to me?" he asked. She looked at him, and for a long moment her silence felt like an answer. Then she said, "Because they believe. Humans carry something different. Something they cannot understand." The man's stomach turned. He was not a doctor, not a scientist. He was just an ordinary man. Why would they believe he could change the impossible? He wanted to tell her she was wrong, that he could not help her. But the way she looked at him, broken, hopeless, stopped the words in his throat. He sat beside her, not too close, but near enough that she could feel he was not leaving. For a long time they said nothing. But in that silence something strange happened. She leaned her head against the wall and slowly, she let her hand fall closer to his, almost touching, almost. The man did not move. He let the silence speak for them. The next morning the aliens returned. They brought food, a tray of strange fruit that glowed faintly, and water in a crystal glass. They left without a word. The woman handed him half the fruit. He hesitated, then took a bite. To his surprise, it was sweet, almost like honey. For the first time, she smiled. Only a small, fragile smile, but real. The man felt something shift inside him. Maybe this bond, this fragile connection, was what the aliens wanted. Maybe they believed life came not from machines, but from closeness, from trust. Still, the thought of creating a child between them filled him with fear. Days passed. They lived together in the chamber, watched constantly by unseen eyes. The woman began to trust him more. She spoke in short sentences, slowly teaching him words in her alien tongue and learning human words in return. At night, when the lights dimmed, she sometimes whispered stories. Stories of her kind, how she was created in a lab, how her people saw her as a failure because she was sterile, how she was given to him not as a gift but as an experiment. Her voice shook when she said, "They want me to be a mother." But I never thought I could. The man listened, his heart twisting. He wanted to tell her she was more than their experiment, that she was more than her ability to give life, but he did not know how. One night, as silence filled the room again, she reached out and touched his hand. Not by accident, not by mistake. This time it was a choice. Her hand was cold, trembling, but she held on. The man looked into her eyes, and for the first time he saw something beyond pain. A small, fragile hope. In that moment, he realized something terrifying. The aliens were right about one thing. A bond was forming between them. A bond stronger than fear, and if this bond could grow, then maybe the impossible could become real. The man had lost track of time. Days, maybe weeks, passed inside the glowing chambers of the alien station. There were no windows, no sunrises, no nights filled with stars. Only the constant hum of hidden machines and the silent eyes of their watchers. But something was changing. The woman was no longer the silent, broken figure he first met. She spoke more now in soft words. Sometimes she laughed quietly when he told her simple human stories, about the rain, about trees, about children playing in the streets of Earth. Her laughter was weak, but real. And every time it echoed in the chamber, the man felt the weight on his chest lift a little. Still, the question never left his mind. Why him? Why her? What were the aliens waiting for? The answer came one morning. The aliens entered the chamber without warning. A group of tall figures carried strange machines glowing with green lights. They gestured for the woman to lie on the bed. She froze, her eyes filling with fear. The man stepped forward. "Wait, what are you doing?" The leader looked at him but said nothing. Its eyes glowed brighter and the words echoed inside his mind. Testing. The woman's hands shook as she lay down. The machines hummed and scanned her body with beams of light. Symbols danced on alien screens. The man stood beside her, his fists clenched, wishing he could stop them but powerless against so many. Then the room fell silent. The tallest alien stared at the screen for a long time. Then its voice entered the man's head again. "Life." The man blinked. "What did you say?" The alien turned its glowing eyes toward him. "She carries life." His heart nearly stopped. He looked at her, then at the screen. The symbols made no sense to him, but the truth was clear. The impossible had happened. The sterile alien woman was pregnant. The woman sat up slowly, her hands trembling. She touched her stomach as if she could not believe it. Tears filled her eyes, rolling down her cheeks, but they were not tears of joy. She whispered, "No. No, this cannot be." The man knelt beside her. "It's true," he said, his voice shaking. "You're going to have a child." She shook her head violently. "You don't understand. They will take it. They will not let me keep it." Her voice broke and she covered her face with her hands. The man's chest tightened. He looked at the aliens, who still stood in silence, watching like scientists studying an experiment. Their faces were unreadable, but their eyes glowed brighter than ever. The leader spoke again in his mind. "This child is a bridge, human and alien, a miracle, the first of its kind." The man stood and shouted, "She's not your experiment. She's not a machine." The alien tilted its head, almost curious at his anger. Then it turned and left, followed by the others. The door closed, leaving the man and woman alone again. The silence that followed was heavy. The man sat beside her. "Listen," he said softly. "They may see this child as a weapon or a tool, but to us, it's something more." She lowered her hands, her eyes red with tears. "What if the child is not human? What if it is a monster?" He hesitated. Deep inside, the same fear lived in him too. But when he looked at her, fragile, broken, yet carrying something so impossible, he found his answer. "Then we will love it anyway," he whispered, "because it will be ours." For the first time, she did not look away. Her eyes met his, full of fear, but also something else, a spark of hope. Days turned into weeks. The woman's body changed. Strange lights sometimes glowed under her skin, faint pulses that moved across her stomach. At night, the man would place his hand there, feeling warmth unlike anything he had ever known. The woman would whisper, "It is alive," and every time she said it, her voice carried more wonder, less fear. But the aliens grew impatient. They came more often, bringing new machines, running more tests. Sometimes they argued in their strange tongue, their voices sharp and urgent. The man did not understand their words, but he could feel their hunger for the child. One night, as the woman slept, the man sat awake, staring at the ceiling. His fists were clenched. He realized the truth. The aliens would never let them keep the baby. And yet, he also knew he would do anything to protect it. Anything. Then something unexpected happened. One evening, as the woman rested, her eyes suddenly widened. She gasped, grabbing the man's hand. She placed it on her stomach. He felt it, a small movement, the first kick. Her lips trembled and tears filled her eyes again, but this time she was smiling. "He is real," she whispered. "Our child is real." The man could not speak. His throat was tight, his eyes wet. He looked at her. No longer just a stranger, no longer just an experiment. She was becoming something else, not just a woman, not just an alien, a mother. And he knew, with a fire burning in his chest, that nothing in the universe would take that away from her. The chamber was no longer a place of silence. It had become a room filled with tension, The woman's body was changing every day. Her stomach grew faster than it should, glowing faintly under the skin at night. Sometimes when the man touched her belly, he felt not only movement but waves of heat, as if a tiny sun lived inside her. At first he thought it was beautiful, but soon beauty turned into fear, because it was not normal. One evening, the glow under her skin spread across her arms and chest like streams of light. Her eyes glowed for a few seconds too, and she screamed in pain. The man rushed to her, holding her as she shook. "It hurts," she whispered, trembling. "It feels like fire." The man clenched his jaw. He shouted at the walls, knowing the aliens were listening. "Stop this! You're killing her!" Almost instantly, the door opened. The tall aliens entered with machines. They forced her onto the bed again. The man tried to push them away, but one alien raised its hand. A pulse of invisible energy threw him against the wall. He fell, gasping for air, helpless. He could only watch as the machine scanned her body. Symbols flashed rapidly on their screens. The leader stared at the results, its glowing eyes unreadable. Finally, it spoke inside his head, stronger than expected. "Growth is fast. She will survive." The man struggled to his feet, fury burning inside him. "She's not your lab rat. You don't care if she lives or dies. You only care about the child." The alien turned its head slowly. "The child is everything. The bridge. The future." The woman cried out again, her hands gripping the sheets. The man rushed to her side, ignoring the aliens. He held her tightly, whispering, "I'm here. You're not alone." After a long moment, the glow faded from her body. Her breathing slowed. She closed her eyes, exhausted, and leaned against him. The aliens left without another word. The door closed. Silence returned, but the silence was not peace. It was fear. Later that night, she sat on the floor, hugging her knees. Her voice was weak. "What if the child kills me?" she whispered. The man's heart twisted. He sat beside her. "Don't say that. It is not human," she said, her eyes wide with terror. "It grows too fast. It burns my body. I can feel it changing me. Maybe it is not a child at all." He wanted to deny it. He wanted to say it was only fear. But deep inside, he also wondered. What was growing inside her? Human, alien, or something neither world had seen before? Still, he took her hand and whispered, "No matter what it is, we'll face it together." Her lips trembled. She leaned against him, and for the first time, he felt her truly trust him. The days that followed grew worse. Her body glowed more often, and sometimes objects in the room shook as if moved by invisible hands. Water rippled without touch. The walls hummed louder when she slept. The man knew the aliens were watching closely. He also knew they were waiting for something they would not share with him. Every night the woman whispered her fears. What if it is not a child? What if it is a weapon? What if they take it away from us the moment it is born? The man had no answers. His silence was heavier than words. One evening, the glow inside her body became so bright it lit the entire chamber. The man shielded his eyes. She screamed, collapsing on the floor. He rushed to her, holding her as her body shook violently. He could feel heat radiating from her skin, almost burning his arms. Her eyes opened, glowing like twin stars. She gasped, "It's alive." Too alive. Then the glow vanished and she went limp in his arms. He panicked, shaking her gently. "Stay with me." "Don't leave me!" Her breathing returned slowly, weak but steady. She whispered, "I am still here, but I don't know for how long." The man's chest tightened. He realized the truth he had been avoiding. The pregnancy was not only dangerous, it was killing her. From that day, he could no longer sleep peacefully. Every time she closed her eyes, he feared she might not wake again. Every movement in her stomach filled him with both wonder and dread. He began to watch the aliens more closely. He noticed their eyes lingered not on the woman but only on her glowing stomach. To them, she was already forgotten, and that made his decision clear. If the time came, if the aliens tried to take the child from her, he would fight them, even if it cost him his life. One night, as they lay together, she reached for his hand and placed it on her belly. The glow was soft this time, warm instead of burning. She whispered, "Maybe it will not destroy me. Maybe it will save me." The man looked into her eyes. They were tired, filled with pain, but also with something new. Hope. For the first time, he allowed himself to believe it too. But in the shadows of the station, the aliens whispered in their strange language. preparing, and the man knew. Their fear of the unknown was only beginning. The woman's time had come, the man could see it in her eyes. They were wide, filled with pain, yet shining with something fierce. Her body shook, her skin glowing brighter than ever. The child inside her was ready to come into the world. The chamber filled with alien machines. The tall figures stood in silence, their glowing eyes fixed on her stomach. They looked like priests watching a sacred ritual, but to the man they looked like vultures waiting for prey. He knelt beside her, holding her hand tightly. "I'm here," he whispered. "I won't let them take you. I won't let them take our child." Her lips trembled. She whispered back, "Promise me. Promise you will protect him." "I promise," he said, his voice breaking. The pain came in waves. She screamed, her body arching as light poured from her skin. The man could feel heat radiating from her, the same burning fire he had felt before, only stronger now. The aliens brought their machines closer. The man growled, standing between them and her. "Stay back," he shouted. The leader tilted its head, its voice echoing in his mind. "The child must be delivered. If she dies, it does not matter. The child is everything." The man's blood boiled. "No," he said firmly. "She matters. Both of them matter." The alien stared at him, silent, as if it did not understand. The woman cried out again. The chamber shook. The glowing symbols on the walls flared with light. The machines beeped wildly, their screens filled with unreadable codes, then a sound. A cry, high and clear. The man froze, his eyes wide. The woman's body collapsed back on the bed, her chest rising and falling weakly. But in her arms she held something small, the child. The glow faded around the room, but the baby shone softly as if carrying its own light. Its skin was pale like hers, but its eyes, when they opened, were human. Bright, curious, alive. The man's heart stopped. Tears filled his eyes. He whispered, "He's perfect." The woman looked down at the baby, her lips trembling. She smiled for the first time. Not a weak smile, not a broken one, but a full, true smile. "He's ours," she whispered. The aliens stepped closer. Their eyes glowed brighter than ever. One reached out a long hand. The man moved in front of them, his fists clenched. "No, you will not take him." The alien leader's voice filled the room. "The bridge is born, human and alien, the future of both worlds. He belongs to us." The woman held the child tighter against her chest. Her voice was weak, but her words were strong. "He belongs to no one but me." The man felt fire in his veins. He spread his arms, blocking the aliens. "If you want him, you'll have to go through me." For a moment, silence filled the chamber. The aliens seemed to hesitate, their glowing eyes flickering. Then the leader lowered its hand. The others stepped back. The man was stunned. Why did they stop? The alien's voice echoed once more. "The child is chosen. Not us, you." The man frowned, confused. He turned and looked at the baby. The tiny child's eyes were glowing now, faint but clear. They looked at him calm and steady, as if the baby itself understood. The man's breath caught. This was no ordinary child. Days passed, and the child grew stronger. The woman never let go of him, holding him close even as she regained her strength. The man stayed by her side, watching in awe. The baby was unlike anything he had seen. Sometimes when it cried, the air around it shimmered with light. When it laughed, the machines in the walls hummed softly as if responding to it. The woman whispered to the child in her language, her voice gentle. She was no longer the silent, broken figure she once was. She had become something new, something stronger. She had become a mother. One night, the man awoke to find her sitting by the bed, cradling the baby. The soft glow of the child lit her face. She looked more beautiful than ever, not because of her pale skin or strange features, but because of the love in her eyes. She whispered, "They called me empty. They called me broken, but now, I am whole." The man sat beside her, touched her shoulder, and said, "You are the most beautiful mother in the universe." Her eyes filled with tears, but she smiled, pressing her forehead against his. For a moment, all the fear, all the pain, all the darkness vanished. There was only hope. But outside the chamber, the aliens were not celebrating. Some whispered with excitement, calling the child a miracle. Others argued, their voices sharp. To some, the baby was a bridge of peace. To others, it was a weapon. And the man knew the truth. Their fight was not over. The birth of hope was also the beginning of danger. The child had been born only days ago, yet already the station was changing. The baby's presence filled the chamber with strange energy. When he laughed, the glowing walls pulsed softly. When he cried, the lights flickered and machines hummed. The man and the woman could feel it. The child carried a power neither of them understood, and the aliens knew it too. At first, they came quietly, watching from a distance. But soon their visits grew more frequent, their voices sharper. Some bowed in reverence, whispering the child was the bridge. Others argued, calling it a weapon. The man's chest tightened every time he saw them whisper. He knew what they wanted. They wanted to take the baby away, and he would not let that happen. One evening, the silence of the chamber shattered. The door opened with a violent hiss, and a squad of alien soldiers marched inside. They were taller, stronger, their armor glowing with sharp lines of light. Their weapons pulsed with energy. The woman clutched the baby tightly against her chest. Her eyes widened with fear. "They've come," she whispered. The man stepped in front of her, fists clenched. "Stay behind me." The leader of the soldiers raised its hand. Its voice boomed inside his head. "The child must come with us. It does not belong to you." The man's voice shook with anger. "He belongs to his mother. You will not take him." The alien soldiers stepped forward. The man's heart pounded. He had no weapon, no armor, only his body, but something inside him burned hotter than fear. He had sworn to protect them, and he would. The first soldier lunged at him. The man dodged, grabbing a fallen piece of metal from the chamber floor. He swung it with all his strength, striking the alien's arm. Sparks flew. The alien staggered back. The others moved quickly, surrounding him. "Run!" the man shouted to the woman. She clutched the baby and slipped through the opening door as alarms blared. The hallway outside glowed red. The man fought desperately, blocking one strike after another. Every blow rattled his bones, but he refused to fall. He shoved one soldier aside and darted into the hallway, chasing after the woman. They ran through the twisting corridors of the station. Sirens wailed. The walls pulsed with warning lights. Alien voices echoed everywhere. "Keep going," he shouted. The woman's breath came fast, but she did not stop. The baby in her arms glowed softly, his tiny eyes calm despite the chaos. Behind them, soldiers gave chase. Energy blasts scorched the walls, missing them by inches. The man grabbed the woman's hand, pulling her down side passages, trying to lose their pursuers. But the station seemed alive, its walls shifting, doors sealing, pathways changing. It was as if the entire place wanted to trap them. At last, they burst into a vast chamber. It was filled with tall crystal-like pillars that glowed faint blue. The woman stumbled, nearly falling. The man caught her, steadying her. "They won't stop," she gasped. "They will hunt us forever." The man looked around, searching for an escape. "Then we fight." The soldiers poured into the chamber. Their glowing weapons raised, aimed at the couple. The man spread his arms, standing in front of the woman and child. "You will not touch them." He roared. The soldiers fired. But before the blast could strike, a wave of light exploded from the baby. The entire chamber shook. The soldiers were thrown back, their weapons shattering. The crystal pillars glowed brighter, humming with power. The baby's soft cry turned into a ringing sound that echoed through the walls like music. The man shielded his eyes. The woman gasped, clutching the child tighter, her face filled with awe. When the light faded, the soldiers lay on the floor, stunned but alive. None of them moved. The baby looked up at his mother and laughed as if nothing had happened. The man's breath caught. He realized the truth. The child did not need weapons. He was the weapon. The woman's voice shook. "He saved us." The man nodded slowly, his eyes wide. "Yes, but now they will want him more than ever." He looked at the soldiers on the ground. They were already stirring, their glowing eyes fixed on the child. Not with fear, with hunger. The man grabbed the woman's hand. "We need to leave now." Together they ran from the chamber, the baby's glow lighting the way. As they fled deeper into the station, the man's mind raced. He had seen what the child could do. Power beyond imagination. A power that could destroy or heal depending on how it was used. The aliens wanted control, but he would not let them have it. He looked at the woman who held the child close to her chest, her face fierce and determined. She was no longer the silent, broken figure she once was. She had become strong. A protector. A mother. The man tightened his grip on her hand. No matter what happens, he whispered, we will keep him safe, even if we have to fight the whole universe. And as alarms roared and soldiers gave chase, he knew the war for the child had only just begun. The alarms never stopped. Red lights flashed across the endless hallways of the alien station. Doors slammed shut. Voices echoed in the alien tongue, sharp and urgent. The man, the woman, and the glowing child ran through it all. They were tired, but they did not stop. Every step carried fears and hope. The child's light guided them, soft but steady, like a star leading them through the storm. But the storm was closing in. At last, they reached a massive chamber at the heart of the station. The ceiling stretched high above them, covered in swirling lights that looked like galaxies. At the far end, alien leaders waited, dozens of them. Their eyes glowed bright green. Their soldiers stood ready, weapons raised. The woman gasped, clutching the child close. The man stepped in front of her, his fists clenched. They were surrounded. The alien leader raised a hand. Its voice thundered in the man's head. The bridge must stay. Humanity is weak. She is weak. The child belongs to us. The woman's eyes blazed with fury. She shouted, her voice stronger than ever. No, he is mine. My child. You will not take him. The man spread his arms, shielding both her and the baby. If you want him, you will have to kill me. The chamber fell silent. Then the soldiers moved forward. Weapons hummed with deadly light. The man braced himself, ready to fight even if it was hopeless. He had no weapon, no shield. Only his body, his will, and his love. But before the soldiers could strike, the child cried. The cry was not normal. It was a sound that shook the air, vibrating like music and thunder at once. The entire chamber glowed. The baby's light spread in waves, brighter and brighter, until it filled every corner of the station. The soldiers froze, their weapons falling from their hands. The leaders stumbled, covering their glowing eyes. The woman held the baby high, her face shining with tears. She whispered, "Show them who you are." And the child did. The glow became pure, radiant. The man felt warmth flood his body, washing away fear and pain. The soldiers dropped to their knees. The leaders bowed their heads, trembling. The baby's light touched them all, not as a weapon but as peace. A force that calmed anger, healed wounds, and filled empty hearts. The man's breath caught. This was not destruction. This was not control, it was love. The woman's voice rang through the chamber. You see? He is not your weapon. He is not your bridge. He is my child. Born of hope, born of love, and you will never take him from me. The aliens trembled. For the first time, their glowing eyes dimmed. They understood. The man turned to the woman. Her face glowed with strength. She was no longer the fragile, silent figure he had first seen. She was fierce, unbreakable. She was a mother. And in that moment, she was the most beautiful mother in the universe. The baby's light slowly faded, leaving only soft warmth in the chamber. The soldiers lowered their heads, no longer a threat. The leaders stepped back in silence. The man wrapped his arm around the woman, holding her close. Together they walked forward, carrying the child in their arms. No one stopped them. For the first time, the doors of the alien station opened wide. Beyond them stretched the stars, endless and free. The man looked at her, his voice soft. Where do we go now? She held the baby tighter and whispered, Anywhere, as long as we are together. They stepped into the unknown, but they were not afraid. The man had been chosen by fate, taken from his world, forced into a nightmare. But from that nightmare, something greater had been born. The woman had been called empty, sterile, broken. But now she was whole, stronger than ever. And the child, their child, there was proof that love could bridge even the widest gap between worlds. Far behind them, in the silence of the chamber, the aliens still stood. They whispered among themselves, voices hushed. Some called the child a savior. Others called him a danger. But all of them knew one truth. The future of the universe had changed forever, and it began not with war, not with science, not with power, but with a mother.